Hi, my name is Bianca Chacon, and my presentation is about the Cnidaria phylum. So, what is the Cnidaria phylum? The Cnidaria phylum contains of marine invertebrates. They are known for radial symmetry, also known for stinging. That is where the Greek word nidos comes in. So, most invertebrates in the Cnidaria phylum tend to be stinging. So, the word nidos means stinging in Greek. That is why they call it Cnidaria. And that's a picture of a jellyfish. So the phylogenetic tree, the Cnidaria belongs to the Eumetazoa. I think that's how I can say it. I wrote it down. Eumetazoa tree, meaning that they are multicellular animals. The sister group is Bilateria, which is shown on the tree. Here it shows Bilateria right above Cnidaria. Is the image where you can see the corals and the jellyfishes, how they're all going with the Cnidaria. Some good examples, here's two. One of them is the corals here, and there's the jellyfishes. There's tons of jellyfishes. This one I found, it had a name of a red story, but there's tons of them. This is just the largest one. So their feeding mechanisms. Most of the animals have their ways to catch their prey is by the use of tentacles that tend to sting their prey. Here is the image that is where the prey will go and it will be catched and stings will go there. That is here in the image where it says oral arms with stinging cells. That is where the prey will be caught. Food is then brought to the mouth. Most vertebrates have their mouths in this central sensor symmetry, and their prey. They usually go after plankton or tiny fishes. Due to the sizes of how they are, it's more preferred. So ecological impacts. So for jellyfishes, researchers have shown that jellyfishes can be disrupting lots of sea ecosystems due to competition with other fishes. This is where they tend to go together wherever they immigrate. So wherever they can go, they can destruct a bunch of ecosystem catching prey on their stings. Now for corals, on the other hand, they tend to give refuge or shelter to other sea creatures. Corals can even provide food to others, such as sea turtles. One great example is the Nemo movie, where there's a coral that serves the job to be protecting or the house of Nemo. Now, the human impact. So, when the summer season begins, tourists and researchers will come around to see coral reefs. There are events where tourists help to protect the coral reef. Here on the left side, there is a picture of they call it a coral garden that was made by a scientist. Here are two scientists that I credit that are known to be doing this kind of work. Now, unfortunately, we're in an area where climate change does not want to be taken seriously and is harming the coral reef, making fishes and turtles lose homes and food. Here on the right, there is a comparison of a live coral and a dead coral. Notice how it's super white, meaning it cannot provide any protection or habitat to other animals. Fun fact, fishes do tend to eat corals alive when they're in the brightest colors, as they can be seen more as food. But once a coral is dead, they see it as a normal plant, meaning it's not food they want to go after. Life cycle and reproduction. In the Cnidaria phylum, there is both sexual and asexual reproductions. Corals tend to reproduce both ways, as some depend on the environmental conditions to breed and to spread the egg sperm zygotes. So they do something budding, but that's after the eggs already starts to develop. We have the larva and all of that. Now with jellyfishes, it's the same thing. Here's what I was talking about. Are spread freely in the water and then transform into a phylum which starts to budding and reproduce asexually. So once they mate in the buddy, that's when they start to asexually reproduce. Meaning, yes, both asexual and sexual reproductions plankton. It even happens with corals. Corals do depend on the environmental with the waves pushing around the eggs. So locomotion. This is for jellyfishes. They tend to have hydrostatic skeletons, meaning they are very soft and they can only move with contractions thanks to their strings. So they push themselves in order to move. That means they don't have really much of a skeleton like normal fishes, so they can move to where they want. They need to contract their body. That's why their skeletons tends to be really soft. They're like jelly, that's why they're called jellyfishes. Now for corals, some corals can move due to being attached to a surface or structure, but some do have senses where they can detect touch or prey. So you can notice where corals are just in one place, they're like plants for in the water, aquatic plants basically. And there's this specific coral that if you touch it, it'll immediately close itself. That is how they detect their touch for prey. They protect themselves. There's other corals, I believe this is the same one, where it'll shoot out white stingrays. That again will go with the Cnidaria phylum. And that is it for right now. And this is my works cited, most of them. I do want to credit, I think it's right there, the coral, what is it called? It's a coral garden. That what I've known is that a scientist wanted to create this coral garden, but he was rejected from so many universities. But he luckily had 2 co-workers that actually helped make his plans come to life and help coral reefs. So you should definitely check that out. Thank you.